Let's talk about Kansas, Missouri. Border War is back for the first time in 10 plus years at the most. This is going to be a pretty interesting battle. Missouri, new loaded offense, new offensive line that struggled throughout the first 15, 20 minutes of the game against Central Arkansas, failed to really establish themselves until Bo Pribula finally got into a groove, finishes with over 200 yards passing, close to, I think he had 3 touchdowns that game. But you see the potential that Pribula has. He was able to run the football effectively, and it shows you what type of athlete he is. Kansas's defense, the last 2 games, they're going to get after teams. I know they played Wagner and they played Fresno State, but overall, that defense is so much better than what we expected. What do you think is going to be the key for Missouri going into this game? Is it a line of scrimmage type of game for Missouri, or is it going to be something that we're not really expecting?
Well, you mentioned the quarterbacks. Jalen Moore's had a little bit of a bounce back for Kansas. Obviously, he's very talented. And Bo Pribula, to me, was one of the more impressive players of week 1. I know it was Central Arkansas, but got to watch most of that game because it was a standalone. And, you can see, Lucas, the ability's there, man. He can really run. He's heady in that regard. He's got a pretty good arm. He's very accurate with the ball, which he was at Penn State. I kind of questioned, okay, it seemed like Penn State plays a pretty weak schedule, and a lot of his time maybe it was garbage time there. We had David Pollock on our show. He said, hey, go back and watch the film against Wisconsin last year. You'll see he played well. That's a spot where he played well against good competition. So I'm more of a believer in him than probably I was coming into the season. I think he's a pretty good quarterback from what my eyes told me. I think the question you brought up is the offensive line. A few times they were going to get him killed, I thought, and you could say that of several quarterbacks in this league. Offensive line performance was not peak performance, probably week 1 for a lot of teams. But they switched Caden Green from left guard to left tackle. Maybe they're having some adjustments there. Some of their other guys had some penalties and things like that. I think that's the thing Missouri's going to need to clean up before Kansas, because that's a Kansas team, as you mentioned. That's going to be, they don't call the border war for no reason. I think Lance Leipold's teams are very well coached. They always achieve close to their potential, and that'll be a good one. But Missouri's got to keep the quarterback protected.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned offensive line, because speaking of offensive line play, South Carolina's interior offensive line damn near got Lenore's killed twice in their game against Virginia Tech. But like you mentioned already, I think Missouri is going to have to establish the line of scrimmage early and often. I think when you get a guy, in my opinion, you got to spread this Kansas defense out. They're going to stack the box early and often. They're going to try and load up the line of scrimmage so that they can continue to get penetration right up the middle. They're going to try to run draw with Ahmad Hardy, who kind of had his moments last week, ran for over 100 yards. But I do think that you're going to have to get this option game involved with Pribula and Ahmad Hardy, which I think is going to really be the difference, in my opinion, in this game. These are 2 quarterbacks, and Jalen Daniels, who's coming back from an injury. I thought he had a pretty decent bounce-back season last year. But I think overall, I'm excited to see this quarterback matchup between him and Bo Pribula. I think they're very, very even whenever it comes to how they play on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and the difference, I think, for Missouri, too, is Pribula established kind of some connection with Johnson on the deep ball, which is going to help them in the run game a little bit, maybe make the safeties a little bit more honest. I think that's one thing that maybe Missouri put on film. They hit him deep a couple of times, probably to get that out there for Kansas for just that reason.
Yeah, Marquise Johnson, in my opinion, I didn't expect him to really break out that much. I thought it was going to be a Kevin Coleman-type show.
Yeah, he's good too, by the way. Yeah.
Yes. Marquise Johnson is establishing himself as maybe a Theo Weiss, or maybe even a good replacement for what Luther Burden left behind. Not saying that that's what you're going to expect, but I think when you get guys like him, I expect Coleman to really make a difference on special teams. You saw him break off a couple big runs on punt returns. I think that's going to be a big key in this one, is special teams and how they establish who's going to win the special teams battle, whether it be playing field position or whether they're getting big returns at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be a player that they expected of their stud a year ago, whose name escapes me, is now in the NFL. Luther Burden, excuse me, who was a little disappointing. But yeah, I thought those guys really flashed some playmaking ability, both of them in game one.
Who do you have winning this one? I got Missouri.
I got Missouri just on talent, but I think it'll be close.
Going to be a good one this Saturday.